Good morning, race fans. Chris here with Jaeger Bombs Fantasy Sports to bring you another NASCAR Cup Series live show today. We are in Phoenix Raceway for the Shriners Children's 500. We went through practice qualifying yesterday. I've added some new stuff to the sheet. I've got a few picks up on the sheet for everyone that joins in today. Please, if you are looking for a copy of the cheat sheet, you're not already a member. I'm just posting the link now in the chat that you can get in. You can grab a NASCAR package from us or a all sports package. We're currently covering multiple sports. We've got NASCAR, we've got PGA, we've got Dane's been working hard on the Euro Tour, DP World Tour, sorry. We've got Live Golf in there. So we've got three different series of golf, or three different tours of golf with sheets. We've got NASCAR with the Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. We're also covering NHL, NBA, tennis, soccer. Dane is going heavy on college basketball right now, which March Madness will be starting pretty soon. He's got a betting sheet up. He's got the DFS sheets that are up. So things are going good. We've had some winners lately. Things are ramping up here as spring is here, at least for me. And yeah, so we can, as we're just waiting for a few more people to pop in here. Morning, Liz. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, so we've got an interesting race, and just haven't had time for a preview show lately. I've been pretty busy with my but my full-time job. So I haven't been able to do the preview show. So we're going to talk a little bit about that as well. So let's just jump right in here, bring up the sheet. So the thing that I added this week that you'll be able to see on the member sheet here is the lap averages tab. So normally what we're used to seeing over in the practice qualifying tab under the purple here is just seeing the practice one rank. Now that's just fastest lap. That's one fastest lap and the rankings of that, the timing of that lap, and then the 5, 10, and 15 lap ranking. Qualifying, and then the qualifying and practice differential. So what I've added this week and where I pull the information from, it comes from NASCAR.com. Now, this year they've restructured their site a little bit different format, so it's taken quite a while to get that up and running again. But I do have this lap averages tab, and what we're looking at right now is the overall ranking of drivers in terms of overall lap average, and then we've got 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap averages in there. So if you want to go and have a look at that, gives you a really good insight to, as the run gets longer, which cars maybe are best. Like, for instance, looking at Kyle Busch, he is second overall in lap averages, but as you get into that 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap averages, car kind of falls off a little bit. Same with Cole Custer at the end of a 30 lap run. His has definitely fallen off a little bit. No, not all the drivers ran 30 laps. Most of them are running like 15, 20, 25. Another good example, Kyle Larson. He's ranked 16th in overall averages, yet his car gets faster as the long run. So that's going to be something maybe we want to pay attention to for the race, something we may want to load up on. I think he's starting 17th, and we'll look at that here just in a second. So first of all, I want to go over to the track history tab and just kind of look at some trends that we've seen here at Phoenix. Now, previously, especially with Atlanta and Daytona, we were looking at place differential quite a bit. Last week, we looked at, in terms of COTA, we talked about how the correlation going down here to the bottom, the correlation was quite high on the road courses, very tough to pass. We were looking more instead, and also with the less laps, 95 laps in that race, we weren't so much looking for place differential or dominator. We were kind of looking at finish position, first of all. What was really most important of guys finishing up front, especially guys starting up front, because of that high correlation. We have something similar this week, except for we are going to be looking for dominators. As you can see, we had 2 drivers last at the championship race that led 100 plus laps, only 7 double-digit place differential, and we had a very high 0.531 correlation. Last spring race, even higher correlation from start to finish. Even less double-digit place differential. We had no drivers that led 100 plus laps, but we had 5 that led 50 plus. So we got those dominators in there. And if we look at that, we've got 50, 57, 55, 68, 68. Those drivers typically are coming from near the front. Like, we've got Denny Hamlin from first. We've got Tyler Reddick from 6th. We've got Martin Truex Jr. from 11th, led 55. Ty Gibbs from 2nd, led 57. And then Christopher Bell led 50. From the 13th starting position. So this is maybe something we can look at, like we just talked about Kyle Larson, how his car gets faster as we get into those late runs. starting 17th. He may not lead in the first stage. He may not lead up until, with the car that he's got, if he can get through and get to that final stage, he's a driver that we could potentially see get up front and lead the final, maybe not the whole final stage of the race, but get up into that 50 plus lap sled, which is going to help. But I just want to continue going over this before we start looking at some more of that data. Going into 2023, we had a very high correlation, low double-digit place differential, one driver over 100, two over 50 laps led. Spring race in 2023, again, very high correlation. So what this is telling me is that we're, again, going to be one, if we're looking for our dominators, we want those drivers potentially starting up front. But again, it's going to depend on those lap averages and stuff like that, because we have seen some of those dominators come from outside the top 10 and even outside the top 15 in some of these races with, obviously, good long run cars. And that's the reason why I wanted to put the lap averages in. It gives us a little bit more insight into the speed of the car over long and short runs, not just by ranking, but we can break it down by speed. And I think this is something I'm going to, now that I've got that set up, that lap averages tab, I'm going to incorporate right into the main sheet so that we can put it into the model, which will give us a little bit more accurate of a ranking in terms of what we're looking for that race. So just continuing on here, looking at the track history, 2022, again, high correlation, two drivers leading 100 plus laps. Two drivers leading 100 plus laps in the spring race, and again, high correlation. So I'm going to be looking for a couple dominators this race. Probably going to have like a list of maybe two or three of my favorites, early dominators, and then maybe late dominators, something like that. Probably looking for in the spring race here, probably going to see at least one driver lead 100 plus. But obviously, there's potential for two drivers to lead 100 plus, and if that's the case, we're probably going to need both of them in our lineups, given that they don't crash out, maybe lead 50, 60 laps and then, crash out and finish like 25th to 30th, then they're not going to be in the optimal lineup. But if they finish top 10, also have those dominator points, we're going to need them in our lineups for sure. So moving on, looking at some drivers that stand out. And if at any time you got any questions about any drivers, maybe that I have highlighted, that I don't have highlighted, about any of the data that you see on the sheet, definitely throw it up in the chat and we will go over that. I'm going to try and keep the show about 25 to 30 minutes. I'll kind of wrap it up then. But yeah, let's get started. So talking about dominators, first of all, William Byron, Joey Logano starting on the front row here. I wanted to look at their lap averages a little bit. They both are showing fairly strong cars. Not so much looking at this, you wouldn't think that. But if we go over here, we look at William Byron, he was definitely the fastest in terms of overall lap averages. And if we go and let's just look at some long run here and sort that. He's coming in at 6th, 7th, kind of in there. So he's definitely got a faster long run car, but I really like the short run car. So I think he is definitely one of my potential dominators for early in the race. So I'll definitely be looking at that here, especially at only 10K. We've been seeing him at the highest price of all drivers over the last few weeks. So getting him a little bit cheaper. He's been on a good run to start the season. He's had some success here. He's got 6th or better in 4 of his last 5. He won here in the spring race of 2023. So I'm definitely looking at that. Joey Logano is always potential to lead. Ryan Blaney, Joey Logano have been very good here. They've led a lot of laps, as you can see, 298 laps. And if you're looking at the laps led, the reason I changed it to the last 6 is because that is with the next gen car. So that goes back to the start of 2022. Those 6 races with the next gen car. And Joey Logano leads all drivers with 298 laps led, and his teammate Ryan Blaney leads as second with 266. So I think that right there tells us that we can look at potential dominators out of them. Logano starting closer to the front, I think makes more sense as an early dominator. I think Blaney could definitely be a late dominator. He's starting 12th, so he can potentially give us some place differential upside there as well. And if you look at his track record, it is absolutely killer. He's got top 5 finishes going all the way back to the fall race in 2021. And he's got 4 of his last 5 were runner-up finishes. How he has not won here is beyond me. But if that happens today, we could see some dominator points. We could see some place differential, and we could see a win out of Ryan Blaney. He's definitely a top 3 driver for me in this race. Now, Liz is talking about Suarez, so I'm going to go down and look at Suarez. Starting 31st is fine. What really has me wondering is he didn't really show much speed whatsoever. So I'm just not trusting it. I think it's going to be more of a GPP play for me. Yes, he's got the experience here, especially 13th or better in his last three. It's just the speed hasn't really been there over the weekend, and in terms of Cindric and Wallace, I like them just a little bit better. I know they're starting a little bit more front. Maybe we see that ownership with Suarez because of that place differential. If that's the case, I definitely like Wallace and Cindric there as well. I'll probably fit some Suarez into lineups, being that he's starting 31st with his track history. But again, a little bit more important to me, week in and week out, is that actual speed rather than looking at just the track history. And over the last 2024 for sure. Yeah, because we don't have any short flat tracks in 2025 so far. So over the 10 races on short flat tracks last year, he only had 3 top 10s in those 10 races and only 4 top 20s. So he was very inconsistent on the short flat tracks last year. Plus the lack of practice speed this week has me more of a GPP play for him, and that's why he comes in at 24th in my overall rankings in the model. I personally like Cindric a little bit more than Wallace when we go up here. He's starting 14th, but if we're looking at Cindric, here we are. He's got a very strong car in terms of once we get into the 5, 10, 15, 20, and 25 lap side. He kind of falls off of that 30 laps, but I think there's a strong case for him getting the top 10. If we go look at the fantasy matrix here and look at both those drivers, we're kind of looking for about at least 36, 37 points from them. And that kind of puts us in the range for Cindric, about a 10th place finish. And for Bubba Wallace, we are looking at a 13th place finish. And Bubba, to hit his upside kind of in that 6X range, we kind of want a top 10. Well, he's done that in 2 of his last 3. He's been consistent with 16th or better in 4 straight here. So I definitely like Wallace at that 7,300 and Cindric as well. He's just shown a little bit more speed than Wallace this weekend. So I think he has potential maybe to even get, I think top 10 is, I would say his floor is kind of around that 9th to 12th. And I think his upside is more jumping into that top 5 finishes here this week. I think that could be a potential. And who knows, maybe he comes in a little bit lower owned because, like you had mentioned, Liz asking about Suarez starting 31st with that huge place differential upside. Bubba Wallace has got a little bit more place differential upside. You got Alex Bowman, Ty Gibbs up here. So he's kind of sandwiched between. So Cindric may come a little bit lower on, but I definitely he's someone that I really like today. Talked about Blaney, talked about Byron, talked about Logano being a potential. I like Byron a little bit better in terms of a early dominator over Logano a little bit. So that's why I have him as a core play and Logano kind of as a secondary play. Kyle Larson, we talked about him. I'm probably going to end up changing him to a core play just kind of after looking at everything that we did. He's starting 17th. So out of anyone that is 9K and up outside of Briscoe here at starting 30th, he gives us the most place differential upside. He's also got top 5s in 3 of his last 4. He won here back in 2021 at championship race. And if we look at his speed, like we talked about, may not look great in the single lap speed rankings here from practice. But he, as we've kind of looked at already, and you can tell it here from looking at the 5, 10, 15, he gets faster as we go into these runs. Not obviously the car doesn't get faster, but his car is getting in deep into these runs a little bit better than some of these other cars. And that's something that we noticed over here. If we look at Larson down here, the overall average, he's in 16th position, but as we go on here, he's got a really good long run car, and I really like that. So, like I said, I think he gives us a really good place differential upside and potential to be probably a final stage dominator. So him and Blaney would probably be my 2 favorite late in the race final stage dominators, while Byron and Logano would kind of be my early ones. Now, number 1 in my overall rankings this week is Tyler Reddick, started 9th. He's got top 10s in 2 straight, both races last year. He's got top 3 finishes. So as you can see, he's been a lot better in the spring races. So I definitely like that right off the bat. He's got some good track history here. He's been very consistent on the short flats. He's one of only 2 drivers, Kyle Larson being the other, with 8 top 10s in the 10 races of the short flat tracks last year. hasn't been a total dominator by any means, so I'm not really looking at him to be a potential dominator. I mean, there's a case that could be made that he could get up there and lead some, especially when looking at his 5, 10, 15 lap averages here. He was third in fastest lap average at practice, and then jumping over to the lap averages here, looking at Reddick, he just gets stronger here. So he's another driver that just is very strong across the lap averages, getting deep into these runs. So he's going to be one that I'm even looking at. And the guys that really stand out in terms of that are, well, Chastain is here as well, Blaney, Logano, Cindric is another one in here, Zane Smith a little bit. We'll talk about him in a second. Kyle Larson, like I talked about here. So Noah Gragson coming down and talk about some value guys here. Noah Gragson starting 33rd. He's finished 12th both races here last year, which is really good to see in that number 4 car. He was consistent in terms of a value play, finishing top 20 in 8 of the 10 short flat tracks last year, which is really good to see. And then we slide over and look at some, well, practice qualifying differential. He's minus 17. So starting 33rd, he was 16th in practice in terms of his fastest lap. And then he looks like about a top 20 car in terms of looking at his lap averages. And we will just have a look here with him. Yeah, the lap averages aren't great, but again, he's coming in at 6,800 from 33rd position. And if we go over to the fantasy matrix, we kind of just have a look at where he needs to finish to get that 5X. He needs a 34 points. I'm just going to get rid of some of this out of the way so we have a little bit more room. So we're looking at about, he doesn't need to finish top 20 for us to hit that 5X. For us to hit that 6X, he's only needing about an 18th place finish. He finished 12th here last year. So if he finished 12th again, let's just theoretically say 52 points, we're going to be somewhere in that 7X range, give or take, 7 to 8X range. So, I mean, he's definitely got huge upside for 6,800. He's shown it before. He's shown consistency on the track type, the short flat tracks. So he is one of my top value plays when we get into the sub 7K guys. And then if we look at some more value plays that kind of stand out to me here at the bottom of the board, Austin Dillon starting 21st, maybe a little bit risky. But again, he showed some good practice times. He was top 15 in 15 and 5 lap averages, 23rd in the overall. Austin Dillon, here we are. So we're looking at about 29 to 35 points we need out of him, which puts us in the range of a 14th to 18th place finish. I think that's definitely doable. He's showing it with the speed in the car, and he's only 5,800. So he comes in at sub 6. So 3 of these guys come in at sub 6. They're going to help us get to a stars and scrubs type lineup where we can get those 2 to 3 dominators from this top tier drivers that we talked about. And there is place differential up here in the top tier as well. So I think that's kind of where I'm going with the lineup. Construction is probably a 3 and 3, like 3 high-end drivers and maybe 3 low-end drivers, or possibly 2 high-end drivers, 95 and up, or even let's just say Reddick and up. At least two of those guys from Reddick and up, and then we can kind of go in and fill in with some of these guys down here. John Hunter Nemechek stands out as well, and I'm just going to bring up DraftKings on another screen here so that I can plug some of these drivers in and kind of give you an idea of how much average salary you're going to have left. Nemechek starting 36th. I like that because there's some place differential upside. We don't need a whole bunch because he's only 5,300. He's finished 30th and 25th, and he's had a decent start to the year. And I know that it's been 2 super speedway races and a road course, but he's got 2 top 10s in the 3 races, including a top 5. He's put up some really good DK and FanDuel points. That definitely has to do with the place differential that he's picked up along the way. Now, the long run definitely isn't there. As you can see, he's kind of near the back of the pack, but he's got some short run speed. So by no means do I think he's a top 20 candidate in this race, but I think a top 25 is definitely in the cards for him. And if we just kind of look at what he needs here, 26 and a half to hit that 5X, well, that puts us way back in 26th place. So 26th, I think that's a really good floor, kind of in that 26th to 28th. And I think he's definitely got potential to get you closer to 20th. which is easily going to eclipse, 6, 7, 8x, which would definitely put him into the optimal lineup. So he's one that I would most definitely consider if I am going ahead and doing that stars and scrubs build that I talked about. And I'm going to build one out here in just a second, just waiting for my extremely slow internet at the moment to kick in. And I will open up a contest here for us. And then I'm going to slide that across over here. Blow it up a little bit. Yeah, so let's look at, first of all, let's get Tyler Reddick in there. Let's get William Byron for an early dominator. And let's just, for the hell of it, put Kyle Larson there. Gives us an average of 67. So easily we can get 3 drivers from this top tier. Because if we now go and put, like who we just talked about, John Hunter Nemechek in there, now we're up to that 7,500. We're into the mid tier. If you wanted to go 4 top tier guys, you could. If you wanted to go with Austin Dillon, maybe Zane Smith, who I said I was going to talk about, but I did not yet. Got him as a GPP play just because he's starting 26th, and he hasn't finished better than 29th in 3 races here at Phoenix. So that's a little bit scary to me. But in the 9 races he had on the short flat tracks last year, he had 1 top 5, but only 2 top 20s. We're not necessarily looking for that, and we're going to look at that here in a second. But he did show some really good long run speed in terms of the lap averages when looking at the 38 car in practice yesterday. So we need 27.5. So yeah, we're kind of, the risk with Zane Smith here is that we need a 21st place finish to kind of get you in that, and that doesn't even give him 5x. You need the 20th place to for sure get that 5x, and to get the 6x, you're looking at an 18th place finish. Like you said, he's never finished better than 29. So he's one, if I'm building the 20 max out, if I'm building the 3 max or single entry, I'm not going to have any of Zane Smith. If I'm going up into 20 max, it's going to be maybe 2 lineups just so that I'm not completely overweight on John, because I don't like being super overweight and having a ton of exposure on these risky guys down here in the low salary ranges, not the top tier cars in the series. So for me, when I start building those lineups out and I find that I'm going to be getting too close to having too much John Hunter Nemechek, maybe too much Austin Dillon, Noah Gragson, who we talked about here, a little bit higher up at 6,800, that's where I'll fit in a couple of Zane Smiths, just to be a little bit different there. But this is a stars and scrubs core. Like I said, we've got William Byron as an early dominator, possibly Tyler Reddick can get up there and dominate early, but we got Kyle Larson, who I talked about, giving you place differential. He's got good track history, and he showed really good long run speed, who could be a dominator come the end of the race. So, I mean, with that 7,500, now you can kind of slip up into this top range. You can get Cindric and Wallace if you want. I like both of them. Liz, if you're on Suarez, that's where kind of Suarez fits in. Or like I talked about, if you put Austin Dillon in here now, that takes you back up into that top tier. You can get Ross Chastain, who showed some good practice averages in there. Kyle Busch, more short run speed. He's been on a roll here lately, getting close to getting that win. So you can go that route as well. So there's a lot of ways to go, because there is a few of these low end sub 7K, sub 6K drivers that really do stand out here this week. All right, we're at that 24-minute range. I'm going to get starting to wrap things up here. I'm going to look at some bets through DK Sportsbook. Going to look at some Prize Picks plays that maybe stand out here as well. We'll jump over to Prize Picks first of all, and I'm going to be looking at Kyle Larson at 51.5. And again, Prize Pick scoring is the same as DK, so I use the DK Fantasy Matrix quite a bit when I'm looking at that. So I'm just going to go ahead and look at Kyle Larson and kind of put him in a, let's just say, a top 5. Yeah, so that's exactly what we need. Okay, perfect. So he's 51.5 here. So if we feel he's going to get more in terms of fantasy score, you're going to need a top 5 out of him. But if he ends up leading some laps, which I will bring that up here as well. And let's just give him 25 laps led. Now, if he gets us some laps led, we're only needing a 8th place finish for him. So if he gets those late race dominator points, that is excellent. We only need an 8th or better from him on Prize Picks. Like I said, he's got track history, so he's one that I definitely like here. Tyler Reddick, 44.5, really stands out to me here as well. 44.5. We're looking at a top 5 finish from him for that. And if he gives us even just like, let's say 10 laps led, that pushes it back to a 6th. If he gives us 20 laps led, that pushes it back to a 7th. So if he can get up and lead some laps, that's great. I think there's maybe a little bit more risk. I like Larson a little bit more. We'll look at a few other drivers here and analyze from a prize picks perspective. Ryan Blaney at 56.5. I think he's going to possibly get up there and lead some as well. Right now, that puts him at you need him to win if you're picking Ryan Blaney. So we really are looking for 30, 40 laps led. 30 laps led pushes us back into 4th place finish for him. If you're picking him on prize picks for the over. William Byron at 64.5. Yeah, you're going to need a lot of laps led. So I think he has the potential to lead 100 plus. So if he led 100 plus here, 64.5 is going to become pretty darn. It's not even that easy. Still need the 3rd place finish here. So there's some risk there as well. So Kyle Larson's my number 1, and then I just really haven't decided on my second one. It's probably going to be Tyler Reddick or Joey Logano. William Byron. The Dominator's a little harder to peg. So it's Logano. I wouldn't put Logano and Byron together in a lineup. I would be picking one or the other. Or Blaney or Logano when we're looking at that. So another one that maybe stands out, Chris Buescher at 32.5. We'll go look at Buescher here. 4th in the model, starting 13th. He's got top 10s and 3 straight top 15s. But the top 10 is what we're definitely going to be looking for. And he was listed at my eyes this morning are just messing with me, 32.5 points. So Buescher at 32.5 points here. 12. We need a 12th or better from him. So that's probably one that I'm definitely going to key in on. He's been good on the short flats, as you can see. 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 9 top 20s. But we're looking kind of at the top 10. So he's like a 50% rate at top 10s. Last year on the short flats, he's got top 10s in 3 straight here specifically at Phoenix. And then in terms of averages, he's 10th in overall averages, and he's got a pretty strong car as you get into the 5, 10, 15, and 20 lap averages. So that would be my favorite 2 as of right now, would be Buescher and Kyle Larson in there for the prize picks. Now, going over to some bets here that I like. Tyler Reddick, kind of like a ladder bet that I think I'll be going with him, betting him outright, top 3 and then top 5. I like the top 5 probably the best. So I think in terms of that ladder bet, I would do, let's just say 3 units here, 2 units here, and 1 unit here. Just kind of build it up in terms of that ladder bet. Ryan Blaney could be a win, but if I'm betting Tyler Reddick to win, I'm kind of probably going to look for a couple long shots out here as well. But if you are going with 2 guys under that plus 1,000, I would probably just pick 2 guys and just ride with it, or go with a really long shot. But I don't think we're going to see, or we don't normally see, long shots come at the short flat tracks, especially at Phoenix. Kind of outside this range. Austin Cindric in terms of top 5, I like that plus 320 number on him. Buescher is down a little bit more at plus 360. I think that makes sense in terms of a top 5. He's done that here. He's showing the speed like we talked about before. But in terms of winners, I'm not really looking at anyone down here. So you could pick Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick, that's plus 700, plus 750. That kind of stands out. Yeah. I guess who's your guys' pick to win here today? Kind of interested in one, who's your pick to win? 2, who's your favorite DraftKings play? Throw it up in the chat if you've got one of those drivers handy. And then, one more time, looking at my core, and we can go and switch it up a little bit and let's go Blaney, Byron early dominator, Tyler Reddick, Chris Buescher, leaves us 5,800. Well, that takes us down. We can go Nemechek. And then 6,300 takes us up to this range here. We could go Austin Dillon, leave a little bit on the table. Or we could go below Buescher and maybe go Cindric here. And then now when we go with John Hunter Nemechek as we can get into that Daniel Suarez if you like. Noah Gregson's right there. I talked about him as well. So I definitely like this Blaney, Byron, Reddick, Cindric core. That's probably going to be one that I'm going to post and ride with. Yeah, Blaney for both. He's just been absolutely incredible here. Like I said, I don't know how he has not won here. Um, I would say bad luck, but a second place finish in NASCAR Cup Series, I wouldn't say is bad luck at all. I'd say that's really strong. But yeah, four runner ups in the last five and top fives in 7 straight races here. Top tens in 9 straight. Absolutely incredible. So I'm with you there. I like that call. Yeah, so that kind of wraps it up. We went over some drivers, we went over the new lap averages, and that's something I'm going to work into the main sheet here. I'm probably just going to expand this practice qualifying tab quite a bit to get the 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30 lap times in here. I haven't decided yet, but I might just keep it as a separate tab like this. We'll see. Definitely throw out your suggestions, what you'd like to see. This is really nice because we can sort this and we can, let's look at short run cars and then switch it over to Kyle Larson, William Byron. So this is, if we have long green flag runs, we don't have a lot of cautions. These are the drivers that are definitely going to be up there. So it all depends. Give me your feedback, either in chat here, in the comments of the video, in our Discord channel, on Twitter, at Jaeger_bombs9. And we'll definitely tweak this sheet and make it a little bit better going forward. And just keep adding on things that are going to help you with your research. So with that said, again, if you are not a member and you're looking to grab a copy of this cheat sheet, maybe get access to our Discord and our 3 coaches that cover NASCAR. Again, we cover trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. And then we also cover about 8 to 10 other sports as well. You can either get in and you can grab a NASCAR package where you're just going to get the NASCAR sheets, or you can get an all sports package where you get covered under all of those sports, which would be a good time to do that as we're getting into college basketball March Madness season, which is Dane has absolutely been crushing it. He's in the, I think it's called the King of the Bracket contest. And again, he's going to have DFS information. He's got a separate sheet for betting for the March Madness, and we cover a ton of that information in terms of chat to kind of help you guys out and doing research, whether you're betting or playing DFS. We're here to help on multiple sports on multiple levels, prize picks, DraftKings, FanDuel, you name it. We're here to help you. So jump in and grab that. And that link, I'm just bringing it up here again. It's a little bit higher up in the chat. You can also find the link in the description of the video and jump in. And then if you're having trouble getting your Discord connected, just make sure that you are logged out of Discord when you go ahead and click on your Patreon page. Go to the settings, click on the chat. It's going to link you to Discord and ask you to log in. And then once you log in, you'll be in our chat. Someone will welcome you, and then you'll see all of the channels that you subscribe for. And then just give us a shout out. Chris Dane Snods, that's his name in the Discord, Nate Snodgrass, and we will definitely help you out with the NASCAR and get into our NASCAR_talk channel. And then you can also check out all of the information, like as Bob Pockris, we've got him in there, and a couple other guys that are giving out really awesome information for NASCAR. We've got a NASCAR news channel. You can follow that as well. A lot of people really like that. So if you have any suggestions of any other reporters or anything that you maybe want added to those news channels, just give us a shout out and we'll try and get that added in for you. Thanks a lot for tuning in, everybody. Enjoyed this one. Next week, I think we got all 3 series again, and I'm going to try and do preview show again to kind of go over the sheets for all 3. And then again, live show next week might have to be Saturday night, but I will announce that probably Thursday, Friday, whether it'll be Saturday night or Sunday morning. Again, thanks for tuning in. Good luck today, everyone.